I recently spent 2 weeks in Tokyo for work. On my way home, I stopped over in Seoul to review 2 sites for future projects. I was only there for 45 hours, but I managed to see a few sites, including a couple of music cafes, while I was there. I was staying in Gangnam, which means south of the river. After I checked into my hotel, I walked to a public path nearby. There were a few cyclists and joggers out, but it was crazy hot. I was getting hourly notifications to stay indoors as it was nearing 100 degrees Fahrenheit the entirety of my stay. I had purchased a fan vest at a hardware store in Tokyo, and that helped me immensely in Seoul.
What is so loud there? Alright, let's go.
As this was a last-minute decision, I hadn't done much research into Seoul before arrival. This meant that I had no understanding of how to transit the city. I was hoping that I could walk everywhere, but I misjudged the scale of everything. It was also more car-centric than Tokyo, and I noticed right away that the cars I saw were larger and more luxurious than what I had seen in Japan. I took an Uber to my first destination. I'm not sure of when I first learned about this first stop north of the river, but I've been aware of it for a few years. It's called Stereophonic, and it's a cafe that has walkmans and tapes available for customers to use. I arrived only about 20 minutes until closing. There was a Rolls-Royce parked on the sidewalk. It was a Cullinan, which sell for just under $500,000. So that was surprising. The cafe had a retail space where clothing and accessories were for sale. There was also a cool tape player inset into a furniture fixture, as well as dozens of cassettes available for listening. There was plenty of seating, and it was very comfortable. As I had arrived so late, they weren't making coffee anymore. They only had beer available, which was fine by me. The barista was playing music on the sound system, and here are some of the tracks he played. It was dark when I exited, and I love the styling of their logo. There was a gym nearby if you were interested in getting cartoonishly fit. I bought a few items there, including this mug with their excellent logo. I also bought a shirt, which I pulled out of the laundry to film here. The final item was this slip mat. I installed it on the turntable in my living room so that all of our visitors are aware that I'm a man of the world. East of the cafe was Myeongdong Night Market. Uber was well established in Seoul, and I found that cars were available quickly and cheaply. It was very busy in the market. The center of each street had food stalls lining the way. There were a lot of Westerners there, and I quickly noticed numerous skincare stores. They were staffed by Korean women with porcelain skin and full of Western women with pleading eyes, hoping they'd found the secret. On my way to a restaurant, I noticed a cat cafe nestled under a gun range. I have a working theory that Seoul is the Houston of Asia, and this was more evidence. If you visit the cafe and notice that the cats have a 1,000-yard stare, it's because shoppers are on full auto, 1 floor above. I had read that solo dining was looked down upon in Korea as recently as 10 years ago. It's become more accepted now. They call it honbap. Still, there are places like barbecue restaurants where it is frowned upon, as noted in this Reddit post. I had dinner that first night at Deulgukhwa, where I was informed that I would need to order 2 of everything at a minimum as they didn't allow solo dining. Luckily, I'm an American and eating for 2 is my default. The food was delicious. They also had robots bussing the tables. On my way back to the hotel, I stopped at this music store. It had a small selection of mainstream Western music, but it was mostly K-pop, which is not something I'm familiar with beyond BTS, so I left empty-handed. I did buy these stickers at a 7-Eleven, which was also selling K-pop merchandise. The next morning, my only full day in Seoul, I headed to the office and passed through Starfield Library, which is in the same cluster of connected buildings as my office. This is the view out of the office window. I hadn't realized how mountainous the region is. I was treated to some absolutely delightful bibimbap for lunch, and then I was transported to the next site in a gorgeous Genesis sedan. Again, the Korean car scene is pretty fancy. At the partner site, I was shown around and treated like a visiting dignitary. I think they overestimated my importance, but they were unbelievably gracious. Beep bop boop go the robots. I got back to the hotel just after 6 p.m. This was my final night in Seoul, so I immediately grabbed an Uber to my next music cafe. This is Seongsu-dong Cafe Street, a cool neighborhood across the river. My target destination is a music cafe called Vinyl. They have several locations. Parked on the sidewalk was yet another luxury car I'd never seen before, a Mercedes Maybach S-Class. They're $250,000. The car game is insane in Seoul. I headed upstairs to the cafe where they had some merch available. You have to purchase a ticket, and one ticket gets you one drink and the selection of 3 records. It's 18,900 Korean won, which is just under $14. You can add a second drink for 3,500 won, which is around $250. Again, solo dining is discouraged, and I think I was the only person there alone. It was mostly couples. There was a mixture of Western popular music, jazz, and Korean music available. It was fairly empty when I arrived, as it was just before closing time. Chairs were comfortable and built for 2, with a single turntable connected to 2 sets of headphones at each. There was a helpful guide for customers. I selected 3 records, a classic Bill Evans live record, as well as 12 by Ryuichi Sakamoto. It was his final recording before his death from cancer, and it was quiet and heavy. I spent the most time with this record, March, by the Korean band Deulgukhwa. They were known as the Korean Beatles. Listen to this crowd reaction and notice the styling of the record cover.
그것만이 내 세상입니다.
They had a resurgence in the 2010s. I found this beautiful sing-along on YouTube. As it started to thin out before closing, I made some awkward attempts at selfies for the video thumbnail. How about this one? Or this one? I bought a couple of coasters before I left. They may replace my Dale Earnhardt in the studio. I walked the neighborhood a bit after closing in search of food, but it was late and I couldn't find anything open. It looks like a cool spot though. I should be returning to Seoul in the next year for this upcoming project, and I'll be sure to have a full plan for this area. Let's Eat Chicken has been bookmarked, that's for sure. It started to rain heavily, which was a welcome relief. I decided to try my hand at the local train, but I was utterly baffled by the map. My host had told me about their transit with pride, and I'm sure it's wonderful. There are plentiful guides on YouTube. I'll do my homework before I return. Defeated, I made my way out of the station and got another Uber. I will say all the cars I utilized were clean and in good order, and it made it really easy and pleasant to get around. Back in Gangnam, I grabbed some food at the local convenience store by my hotel. I did want to compare the egg sandwich in Korea to the 7-Eleven counterparts in Tokyo. And I had seen this banana milk everywhere, and I really enjoyed it. These chips were like bugles, if you remember those. They were prevalent in the US during my teenage years, but I can't remember the last time I saw them. Early the next morning, I took a car to the airport, which took around an hour. I listened to my friend David's Diriglow project on the ride. I put some links below. I felt like I was in a synthwave video as I left the city, so I've put some footage here recreating that. My time in Seoul was short, but it was a good start. I'm looking forward to returning, and I'll be sure to have a full exploration plan next time I'm here. As always, I appreciate your time and attention, and I hope to see you again soon.